Just going to fit one of these red RC Boat Bitz upgrade kits to the Sonicwake version 2. It's got bigger term fins, much better and wider trim tabs, adjustable stinger, and the rudder on these new ones are already dual pickup, so I'm only swapping that over because of the colour on this one. On the version 1s they weren't dual pickup. The bolts on the back of these are all 2.5mm. Try not to drop it. Oh, okay, they're using washers on the nuts, which is nice. Might just rip everything off first. The thickness of the bracket here is the same as ours on here, so the bolts they use in here are the same ones you'd be using on there. Everything's going to be a straight swap over, and there's just a little mod you've got to do on the stuffing tube in the stinger, which is probably why most people are watching this video. I'll just do it all anyway. Gonna need to take the prop shaft out, so 2 10mm spanners. Crack this. I can see why now. I've only used this boat once, and the first time I took it out, it was just making a horrible screaming noise, even though I'd greased the cable. So I can see here it was rubbing on the end of the stuffing tube here. It's not lined up perfectly. All right, we can look at that another time. Okay. I'll just do the stinger bit first, because then just about everyone can switch off, because the rest is just bolting everything back on. Now you can see this part of the stuffing tube is sticking out, so it sits inside here. On this one here, you can see it stops there, so if I was trying to push that in there, we got nothing. So obviously I've got to cut this flush here, which is just a pretty simple job. Just cut it with an angle grinder. I think the grommet's going to be possibly in the way a little bit, so we've got a little bit in there for that to sit in. Yeah, okay. I'm going to trim the grommet. If I can find a blade. Obviously, if this was to cause a leak, you'd be putting a bit of silicone on there to fix it like you would any other boat. Let's see how she goes now. That's it. So these holes are slotted so it can be adjusted up and down, but that's going to locate this here. You can see I've got a little bit sticking out. Don't go crazy when you're doing these up because you got stainless steel bolt in a plastic thread. Okay, how's the rudder gonna go? Just not sure what we got going on here. Where's the put the fin part there on the outside. Now, is there any washers? Apparently not. Alright, I'm going to put a washer underneath here. It's M4 or 4mm. Well, while I'm doing it, I might as well put their break-off bolt in the bottom here. The break-off bolt is meant to break in case you hit something on the bottom, and saves either ripping the threads. Well, on a stronger boat where it wasn't blind holes with these plastic threads, you would rip the back of the boat off. In this case, you would rip the threads out of the boat. Either way, you don't want to do that. Okay. Alright, going to line up with the middle hole on this one. Put it down but not tight. Alright, put the cable in. I will grease it, but just not for this video. So I'll put my cable in there, leave the gap here, And then now the advantage I've got over this one here is I can adjust it up and down, and that'll change the way the whole boat rides. So I'm just going to set that level exactly like this one was, and then play from there. The same with the trim tabs. I'm just going to have them level, and if the thing's bouncing around too much, I can either fix that by moving the prop down or angling these down a little bit. And I'm just going to swap out this hose, put some of this a little bit nicer, better quality hose on there. Now our hose is just a tiny little bit bigger than this, like it's not going to fit in there, so I'm actually going to use these hose covers anyway. So it's going to sit in there like that. All right. Now, need some scissors. Alright, now to get these through here, they're a tight fit, so you got to do that. Okay, so I've used a 6.8mm drill bit here. If you only had 6.5, you're just going to have to use that and then ream it out a little bit. If you stuff it up and make it too big, if you go with 7, well, you're just going to have to put some silicone on the inside so it locks in there. Reason that's so hard to drill through, or so taking so long, is because it's not just a hole there, it's like a tube. A bit more hose, just using offcuts here from other boats. Alright, so alright, so water comes in, doing the speed controller. Goes around. Our hose is a little bit bigger diameter here too, so I'm going to make this a little bit longer so the loop doesn't do that. Now for the outlet, this thing's made of. So you can see the size of the hole in here. It's quite small. As our outlet is larger hole, so it's worth, you know, swapping these out as well, not just for looks. So what are these things? Is there a nut on the inside? Oh no, it's just a rubber piece. Oh, I see. It's just a tube in a grommet, basically. Okay, that's out. So there was like a tube that I've dropped. Here it is here. This tube here was pushed into the grommet and then the hose was on here. So I'm going to go from that size hose, the internal diameter, to that size there. So it's worth stuffing around with. What have we got here? This is 6 or 8. Okay, these are 8mm. And that one there. Alright, so we'll just do one. This will drill much quicker because it's just one hole, no tube on the inside. So you've got an Allen key here to hold it, or turn it if you want, and your nut on the back. Just put some Loctite on here. Okay, so that's what we're going with. So I'll do the other one in a sec. I'll turn the camera off and button everything else up, put a longer piece of hose on here, and then show the result. So there it is, all done. I've chosen to use these little hose clamps. Nothing worse than a boat broken down because you've blown a hose off or whatever. So I just needed 6 to do that. You don't need them on the outlets because our outlets are a bigger diameter, so they're pretty tight on there. Can't fit 2 on there. There's too tight, but because they're kind of touching each other, you can't. They're kind of helping each other stay on. So we've got bigger turn fins, much bigger trim tabs, a stinger that can be adjusted. And you've actually got a better rudder, come to think of it. I forgot to say, on these, well, there's just no play in here, but on the stock ones there's just so much play in here, it's not funny. It goes sideways, goes forward and back, it twists that way, it's crazy. So there's just a pile of junk there. Alright, and I've just got my 2 outlets in here that'll flow more water than the standard ones did with the bigger holes. And that's it.